Muy buenas tardes, bienvenidos al cuarto de la Bitchuation. ¿Cómo estamos esta noche? Hoy vamos a hablar todo en español y nadie va a entender nada, así que si están adentro de este círculo hispanohablante, muy bien, y si no, bueno, que vayan a cagar. I am just kidding. Welcome to the Bitchuation Room podcast live, you guys. I'm Francesca Fiorentini. Si hablo español. Okay? No es un big deal. All right? But I hope you guys are doing well, and I hope you guys are fine on the inside. Not on the inside of your hearts, because in there it's all just rain and sadness and like a lot of like Sinead O'Connor. But on the inside of your homes, which is where we're staying for the foreseeable future, because we can have nothing nice. And the virus wants us gone. And mostly our governments do as well. I'm so tired of being indoors, but I'm so happy that you guys are here. Hey, if you're on Twitch, what's going on? Thank you for using those emotes. Yeah, I know what an emote is. I made them. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like the stream, share it, do all the things, flag all the flags, whistle all the whistles, except for the dog whistle. Don't whistle that. Okay? No whistle. Actually, I feel like maybe I almost miss dog whistles. Like the moment we're in, you're like, hey, what happened to the dog whistle? Remember when you couldn't hear all the, open racism? That was better, maybe. And if you're listening in the future as a podcast, thank you so much. Hey, why don't you give this podcast 5 stars? It's the least you could do. I mean, you could also write a little something nice. And thank you everyone who's reviewed the podcast. I read every single review and it's so sweet. We have such a great show for you guys today. We're talking about Medicare for All. That's right. We're talking about Medicare for All, the fight ahead with Michael Lighty. He is going to break down what's going on the national level, on the statewide level in California. I know we've spoken about Medicare for All in New York, so this is a follow-up to that. Also, the comedian Danielle Perez is here. She is so wonderful, and I can't wait to break down all the news that has happened this week with her in the house. And also, we got a new segment. It's a segment pitched by my producer, Becca, and I was like, that sounds good. Also very hard. It's called What's Good? That's it. Just what's good? So we're going to be looking at what we think is good. So make sure that you hold on to what you think is good. And hey, you guys, you know what is actually really good? The fact that we have a Patreon for this podcast, patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. And there are some new patrons since last week. And once again, y'all are the sexiest people on the planet. I don't care what anybody says. That's you. You sexy because you're a patron. And because of that, you get a Patreon party with my boy, Kevin MacLeod. Kevin MacLeod. It's Scottish. I've been corrected on this before. Kevin MacLeod with his just a banger, just a royalty-free banger called Farting Around while we get this Patreon party started. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for becoming a patron this week. For Gautam J, how are you? Robert G, Wendell B, Darren G, Wayne L, Scott, Yaliva L, I think that's how you pronounce that name, Brent A, Edward C is part of the Innermost Cabal. Hell yeah. Jacob W, also part of the Innermost Cabal. Welcome. Welcome. I'll give you your badge and all the initiation rituals very soon. Also, thank you to the big tippers. Anyone who's donated $20 or more. Juan V and George B. You guys are awesome and always so, so wonderful. And that was the Patreon party, everybody. Oh, it stinks in here. I'm not above fart jokes, okay? Fuck you. Yeah, revolutionary politics and fart jokes. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You don't like it? Oh, you don't like it? Leave. See your way out. Yeah, that's right. Just go. No, but you guys all can tip this show at TBR-Live on Venmo, TBR Live on Cash App, and you can become a patron $1 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month gets you a special shout out. And then there are tiers and tiers beyond that. There is bonus content. This week, for example, I am looking at getting an interview with Alexis Goldstein, who wrote an incredible article about Gamestonks, and AOC interviewed her. So I'm really going to try and get her on a bonus episode probably Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. I also just want to shout out our moderators on YouTube. Chuck Diesel, thank you so much. You really crush it. And there's someone else that I need to mention, and I will remember their names very shortly, but mostly Chuck for right now. And Todd Roy, that's right. Todd Roy, thank you so much for moderating. All the haters out. Let's get to it, you guys. What are you bitching about this week? Let me know in the comments. What's got your goat except for, fucking everything? Mine is the New York Times editorial board. Yes. Just when everything's good, when you start to feel, maybe we're all on the same page about, climate change and living and progress and, reactionaries who tried to overturn an election. All of a sudden, the New York Times op-ed will be like, not so fast. Here's what the elite think. And the elite this week thought that they should put out a very special notice to the incoming president, to the president, Joe Biden, that just says, ease up on the executive actions, Joe. Ease up, buddy. We want progress, but we're still trying to make a buck off this late stage capitalism. All right. Why don't you ease up? And I've said this before on the show. Fuck you. Okay. Just shut up. Shh. Hey, New York Times, ease up on the death spiral defense of the status quo. How about that? Yeah. Could you do that for us? Their argument, because I was like, look, maybe there's a good argument here. Maybe there's something. No, it really isn't all that good. The argument is basically, let's not get out of hand with all the executive actions. There's a lot of them, and we've got to work through Congress. Yeah. Have you seen Congress lately? You guys see what's up in Congress? We're going to get into Marjorie Taylor Greene. Congress has checked the fuck out of handling our democracy a long time ago, especially Republicans, mostly Republicans. They have no interest in working through any kind of rescinding of the Trump hell legacy. So, I don't understand why working with them is going to be a priority. But let me just go through some of the executive actions that, of course, the New York Times thinks are just too much. All of them, as I've said before, are basically just trying to clean up the scene of a crime. All right. There's nothing political about that. Things like getting rid of the Muslim ban, things like reinstating DACA, things like ending the global gag order on any kind of aid to organizations that promote reproductive rights, right? This is 1990s shit, okay? Pausing the payment of student loans until September 2021. Sorry, that's what I was going with. None of this is radical. Okay. Yes. Stopping leases on new oil and gas drilling leases on federal land or whatever. That was new-ish. Ending federal contracts for private prisons. That's new-ish. Does it apply to immigrant detention centers? Not yet, actually. Although their stock is being tanked right now, which is good. There is definitely workarounds around no new oil and gas wells or drilling permits at all. It should be, but it's not. None of these things are radical. But of course, the New York Times is going to be like, slow down, let us check this through, and let's go through the proper channels. And this is what I'm saying about Democrats and media generally. Is our memory that is just, it's like, have we been binge drinking this whole time? What's going on? We don't remember shit. We don't know where we are in history. We don't understand that these are the things that should have gotten done years and years and years ago. The moment we are is all of those actions are not even, it's like a Hillary Clinton, maybe one term of Hillary Clinton, nothing, very, very, very little. I wish it was more, and I think we have to keep pushing. But this is the thing with the centrists who toe the status quo line is that they're always afraid of being seen as combative. Meanwhile, when Republicans get in there, it's a total blood sport. Like, gloves off, blood sport. Let us descend into fucking barbarism as quickly as possible. And then when Democrats get in there, it's supposed to be a dance. Now we're supposed to just be buttoned up. No, that's how you lose. That's how you get fucked over in the future, because you're unable to deliver for anybody when it comes to anything concrete. And then the other party's like, hey, look at how ineffective they are. And then you get ruined in elections. We've seen this, people. Hello. A last thing I'll say is, I do think that the power of the executive branch needs to be curbed, for sure. I'm not saying that, like, hell yeah, do everything by decree, No. I think we should absolutely rein in the power of the executive branch. We should create a lot of laws out of the norms that Trump got away with skirting and bludgeoning, right? I do think ideally we work through Congress. I'm a full believer in democracy. Shit's so broke right now. I don't know if we have that luxury. And the other thing I'll say about DACA, the New York Times is like, look at the DACA receivers, first Obama promised them all this, and then Trump got in there and he rescinded it, but not, and it's like, yeah. And then they're like, oh, but Biden needs to put forward a plan. Biden's put forward a plan. He's straight up put forward a plan after 3 years, green card for DACA recipients. That's the plan. And he also has a plan to expand that to the other 11 million undocumented immigrants in this country, right? That he is going to have to get through Congress, but there is a plan. So don't say there's not a plan. Don't say that you've got to work through Congress. Like, I'm not really sure what the angle is here. You would never apply, hey, let's stop doing so much to stop the spread of COVID, right? Well, arguably, we had a white supremacist fascist in the White House spreading the virus of authoritarian fascist Christian nationalism. So let's stamp that out. Let's get a vaccine for that shit. Anyway, I'm done. Also, New York Times, if anyone wants to give me a podcast, like, I'm so there. I said nothing about you. Are you kidding me? All right, I'm not talking just to myself this whole time. And bring in our guest. She's a Los Angeles-based comedian, actor, writer, and host of the podcast, Wow, Rude. She stars alongside Jodie Sweetin in the upcoming romantic comedy, Will You Be My Quarantine? And you can check out her conversation on disabled Latinx inclusion with NALIP at Sundance. Please welcome Danielle Perez.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, thanks for being here. Oh God. I see your backdrop and I'm like, I just want to be in that party. I want to.
Oh man, yeah. In my mind, I live in a gay bar that is always open. It's always, there's poppers all around, and there's always a drag queen lip syncing. Okay, that's the world that I escaped.
I wish that were my quarantine. Danielle, for people listening in the future, has just like a rose gold streamer situation behind her, and it's beautiful.
My roommates put it up on my birthday in April of 2020, and now it is January. It will be February when you listen to this in the future.
That's right.
And it's still up, It's doing some heavy lifting for me emotionally.
Yeah, comedian Kevin Avery, who's been on this show before, good friend, has always leaves his Christmas tree up all year round, which is a weird one. But then now I get it. This was the first year I was like, I don't want to take down the decorations. Like, they make me happy. I need more blinking lights. Oh God. I want my home to look like the inside of like an Indian restaurant in the Lower East Side, like all.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Just all the warm and bright, and
it's always someone's birthday at a random moment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Lights go off. Oh God. Danielle, thank you so much for being here. And please, we start off the show in the way you heard me just started off, just a super light note of asking, what are you bitching about?
Just a real cash. What are you bitching about? Keeping it light and bright and airy. Look, I'm an LA girl born and raised in Los Angeles. I'm bitching about the rain. I'm not with it. Even though I'm not leaving my house or going anywhere, it's still offensive to me personally. Okay. If you can see me, I have a curly hair situation. Usually my hair is in a blowout, and rain is pretty, you know.
I thought
I'm not
that
going
all
to
the
say it's
humidity.
anti-black, but it is a little offensive. You know, it's maybe a little prejudice is all I'm going to say.
I thought humidity was supposed to be good for curls, though. Not like actual water,
Moisture is
just like
good.
moisture.
Look, I'm not from Florida. You got the wrong Dominican girl. I was born and raised in Los Angeles. I don't know about that life, that humidity all the time, always having always a frigid air conditioning. No, it's supposed to be 72 degrees always.
God,
not too cold, not too hot. And definitely no rain.
I'm in the rain mood. I am on the opposite spectrum. Not that I'm going outside either, but I'm very much like,
You're
do you remember
loving
that?
it?
Yeah. Do you remember that garbage song? I'm only
Really happy when it rains.
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
oh God, that was
Okay.
like
get
my
you. It's a
13-year-old.
alt
Yeah.
early 2000s vibe. I mean, look, I love Celebrity Skin. It's a great album. We love Hole, you know. Miley's doing the good work of like reintroducing that for the Gen Zs. And
yeah, but it's like with there's no one with the edge. Like no one's got Courtney Love, the edge of Courtney Love.
Courtney Love is still at it, man. She like posted something recently on Instagram. She's like, my only regrets are like fucking this dude, doing crack, and like recording my second solo album. And it's like it's just like really amazing that like whatever this random guy is and her second solo album were just right up there with crack.
Crack, and then like maybe driving Kurt Cobain into his little depression session.
Here's the thing.
I don't know all the conspiracy theories about this.
My friend Hannah Michaels, you know Hannah Michaels, she's super funny, but she had like this tweet that was like, no one knows, like Courtney Love can't be smart enough to have like murdered Kurt Cobain and got away with it and like be as stupid as everyone thinks she is. Like she can't be both those things. So which is it? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That's like,
look, I feel like we wouldn't have had the Foo Fighters if things wouldn't have gone down the way they went down. And
I do feel like
I want to look to the future. You know, the past is so dark and sad. We can't rewrite it.
Well, the future. You think the future's good?
I mean, it's oh God. I don't know if it's good, but there's opportunity in the future.
That's true. It is yet unwritten. There might be another Kurt Cobain. I definitely think that grunge would have saved a lot of lost white boys right now, and I'm missing that movement. But I want to get.
Boys have so much. They have everything. They have everything, and they still shoot up churches and schools. It's like at this point, the problem's not, you know, us. We got to look at them, you know, and it's like, what's their problem?
They look at them. Mm-hmm. We're going to do our own thing. Anyway, as W. Kamau Bell always says, you know, go get your boy. Come get your boy. And, you know, Kurt, if you're listening, visit these men in their sleep or something and be like, hey man, just learn how to play the guitar and like fucking get a personality or whatever. Anywho, let's dig into the week, Danielle. So good to have you here. We're looking into everything that happened this week, mostly just 3 major stories. This is the week where. This was the week where Joe Biden finished his first week as president. Yay! And part of the job has been making sure that the COVID-19 vaccine continues to be administered. And as of now, the vaccinations have unfolded much in the way that my career has unfolded, sort of spotty and unstable, but effective when appreciated and properly utilized. Biden has promised 100 million vaccines in 100 days, and so far 31 million have been administered, at least the first dose has, and nearly 6 million have gotten both doses. But all of this might be on the rocks because apparently nobody really knows what is going on. The administration got into the White House. They had a whole plan, and according to reports, like the entire rollout is way more disorganized than they quote unquote expected. And I'm like, oh, you expected anything? Like,
Yeah.
how did you expect anything other than like stacks of paper with the word vaccine written on them, you know, next to like a box of Moderna swag? Just like being guarded by a raccoon or some shit, you know, like, well, we don't have the vaccine, but this raccoon has got a lot of top shelf polar fleeces with the Moderna logo on it. So, you know, ask and you shall receive a free pen. Um, apparently, though, the Biden team is trying to get a firm grasp on the whereabouts, this is real, of more than 20 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccine that the federal government bought and distributed to states, but is yet to record as being administered to patients. And I'll tell you where they are. All right.
Where are they?
Mar-a-Lago, baby. That's
where they are. With
Yeah, they're being given out for free. Like if you book a tea time, you get a free vaccine. If you reserve 2 weekends in a row, you get a vaccine and a state secret. That's obviously how it's going.
If you get a personal massage, you get an extra polo fleece too.
Oh God, I wouldn't massage him, but I want a nice a fleece. I would have to put something over the Moderna logo. Danielle, what are you hearing of the vaccine? Have you gotten it? Has your family received it?
The vaccine is the Wild West right now. It's like the lotto for poors, which is the lotto, right? Yeah. We're all poor now. None of us are rich in the vaccine. My dad got it because my dad is of age and a vet. He got it through the VA.
Oh, nice.
You know, still playing the lotto, the vaccine lotto with my mom, trying to get her vaccinated. I'm high risk. I have asthma. That's my pre-existing condition.
Yeah.
And apparently people with disabilities aren't on the list to get vaccinated yet. It's just like adults 65 years or older.
Which is what they say, and yet I know of other people who are getting the vaccine.
Okay, so healthcare workers or whatever, I'm like, or whatever, you know, like those people like saving our lives actively and like keeping us all from just like wiping ourselves out as like a population on this earth. There's also everyone like running the COVID, everything that was a COVID testing site in Los Angeles is basically being turned into a vaccine administration site. And so all of the employees kind of like running that, they're also now kind of in like a lotto to get vaccinated because they have to work around so many people. So they're like considered part of that like A1 tier.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, I feel like they should just add people who haven't fucked like since 2019 to the list as like an A1 tier. Asking for myself, I would like to be injected with.
That makes sense as much as anything else, especially apparently there is like a baby bust right now. People are not procreating, which yeah. And so I think that would be worth it. Not that you, it would really suck to get pregnant after your first time of sleeping with someone.
I mean, it just might happen. Look, I was going to say a UTI. I have a IUD. Well, we don't know. It's been so long, you know.
Is it still working? Like, exactly.
We don't know. We got to put it to the test. Let's find out. Let's get vaccinated.
No, I think we need to make everything a little bit sexier generally. And I do think that vaccinating horny ass people would be really a morale boost for our nation.
I think it would. It'd be like, you know, sex is happening again. You know, we're getting tested. Yeah,
everything's back to normal.
Imagine
everyone's wearing masks while they're fucking.
Campaigns. Get vaccinated. Safe sex.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know. I feel like the vaccine, you know, I've known people who've gotten the first dose, but then getting the second dose appointments has been really hard. And again, apparently all this is falling to the states, and the states are like, we don't know how to do that.
I guess like California, it seems, or at least like Los Angeles, the the way that they're kind of going about it is they want to prioritize like full vaccination versus just giving everyone like
Makes
a
sense.
first dose. They're like prioritizing people who've gotten the first dose and making sure they get the second dose. I mean, but I don't know in reality how that's like working out for people.
Yeah.
I mean, I just know that I have to like, you know, go online for my mom, and it's like I already have been having to teach her how to Zoom for over a year, it feels. And I'm done. I'm done with my mom and the iPad and technology, and I don't want this life anymore. I didn't sign in up to be my mom's Apple genius in a pandemic.
That's why she had you. That's why you have kids, is so that they can explain how their Apple Music playlists work. Like, my mom definitely is more in love with the Genius Bar person on the phone than me. Like, she's like, well, you know, Grant always picks up my phone call. And you're like, oh,
Grant gets paid. I don't know. Maybe pay me to be your daughter.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you thought about that? Bribery?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly
you might
right.
get
Oh,
service with a smile from me.
Well, anyway, I hope it's gonna happen. I hope it keeps on rolling out. Tell Bill Gates to give us even more money. I just want to see the crazies go nuts. Moving on, this was the week where we learned that the stock market is actually super problematic. I guess we somehow didn't know that after like Wall Street tanked an entire economy from the subprime mortgage lending scheme and then was bailed out. So it took this week a group of Redditors to remind us when they successfully boosted the stock value of the retail company GameStop, which a number of hedge funds were trying to short in order to make huge profits. And instead, those hedge funds have been put on the fritz. Yeah. The retail store market value spiked the value of GameStop from $2 billion to more than $24 billion.
Hell
and yeah. And as a reminder, workers won't see a dime. But I wanted to say, like, for me, this story, and I've been following it all week, is very much like the magic, like the magic eye poster of stories. You know, you see what you want to see. Okay. Some people see the 99% sticking it to the 1%. Others see a group of neck-bearded Elon Musk reply guys also playing the same rigged stock market so that they can buy a Cybertruck. Wherever you land on this, if there's one thing this story has done, it's made us all ask like the hard questions, you know, like, what the fuck is a hedge fund again? And maybe I should watch the movie The Big Short one more time.
I love that they literally made a movie about this like very situation, and it starred like Matt Damon. I think it won awards, and they're like still allowed to do that. But I
know, it's amazing. Like our brains.
I love Matt Damon. He's white. He's like your fave. He was in like all those Bourne movies. Like, he didn't do anything about it.
Exactly. Once if it's Oscar nominated, they must have regulated the finance industry by now. It's like I
love all the class action lawsuits against like Robinhood that are happening now, because like people started, you know, once it started going pretty mainstream, like off Reddit, people were like trying to get in on the action. And
oh yeah,
just, you know, like, is this the plot of like Les Mis? Like, it felt like it. But true story. I do have some investments, and I like hit up my account manager and was like, can we buy GameStop? And she was like, absolutely not. And I was like, I don't know, I'm just like seeing a lot of talk around it and I'm interested. And she's like, very volatile. And I was like, okay. And then I was
like, the point? Isn't that what's cool about it?
I know. I was like, but isn't that what's exciting? And then I was like, yeah, interesting. I don't know. I know that Robinhood is like restricting people from buying it. She's like, exactly. Hint, take the hint. And I was like, but isn't that like illegal considering it's like a free market? And she's like, there needs to be order. And I was like,
you're like, you're one of them.
It was just like, oh God. I was
that
like,
is so funny.
Bad. It's like everyone that's like, actually, it's just like, oh, the whole system is so corrupt, but that's literally like
That is, there needs to be order.
It was so ominous, and it was like, I am on the wrong side of history with this. But also,
no, you're on the right side of history. That is, well, because I mean, we're going to talk about the healthcare industry too. But like, look, you're no offense to your financial manager, your account manager, but like, there's a lot of people feeding off of this system, and they don't want to jeopardize their own placement in all this. And like, like they went to school for it, and like, yes, I'm sure you did. And when we have a just transition away from the stock market, what's your financial advisor's name? What's her name?
Yeah, let me just dox her right now. She'll love that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll call her Jessica. Jessica will be comfortably placed, in in the re-education camp of economic
we all
justice.
know camps are a great idea.
Yeah,
historically, camps have always been super fun.
Never gone wrong. Look, they've just Danielle. They've just never been done right. Okay, you know what I mean? No, I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm joking. But what I'm saying is, it's very funny to see people like get super territorial.
Well, it's like issue. This is how it's worked. This is how it's always worked. This are like it's like, I don't know, like kind of like, I felt like very like, like Hillary Clinton vibes, where it's like, I played the game and I made compromises and there's blood on my hands, but fuck it. I did everything I was supposed to. And it's like, and now you're just coming in and changing all the rules. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, I feel like that's what the energy is a little bit. Like, how fucking dare you?
Totally.
Like, it's not supposed to work this way. It's supposed to work the other way. Like,
so funny. So funny. That's exactly what it is. And of course, Maxine Waters, reclaiming her time, chairwoman of the House Committee on Financial Services, says she's calling a hearing to discuss the activities surrounding GameStop and the impact of short selling and online trading platforms on capital markets and retail investors. So it is dope what is the conversation and the fallout. And I hope we talk more about that as a country, because it would be very funny if like an entire economic collapse in 2008, the Great Recession, wasn't enough to like spur real regulation, but like some dudes trying to make a quick buck off of GameStop.
Like hedge fund bros just losing their shirts because of Redditors.
Yeah. Like, this is gonna do it.
I saw a meme yesterday. Oh my God. Literally, it was like Master Splinter and like a little baby like Ninja Turtle, and it was like, Master Splinter is GameStop and the little turtle is like us, and then like the Ninja Turtle has like grown up in the next like window, and like Shredder is old and like with a cane, and it's like us holding GameStop's hand. Like, it's like
so self-serious.
Like, just, oh my God, just a bunch of Redditors for the lulz trolling the fuck out of Wall Street, like injected into my veins. I can't wait to see this movie. No offense, Matt Damon. Yours didn't have enough of an impact, clearly, but hopefully.
I don't even remember that it was. I thought it was Brad Pitt. Am I wrong? Was that Moneyball? That was Moneyball, wasn't it?
I mean, yeah, I think Moneyball was around the same time. It's like always like, why don't you guys just make another Ocean's 11? Because all of you together on screen, similar, same place, it feels like it.
But this time, kiss, because that'd be hot. Anyway, final story for y'all, and thank you so much for sticking around and being here. Oh wait, I had a final story, but it's not here.
Cuckoo Cocoa Puffs.
Oh yes. Blondie? No, I have it. You know what's funny is I didn't actually really write that much for this.
Oh, no worries. I don't really know her name. Insane. But I know she's cuckoo.
This was the week where, hang on. This is the week where 50 House Democrats have been calling for the removal of Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene for many different comments that she has made recently. Approving of the storming of the Capitol, saying that it should have happened again, or that she was proud of it, calling for the basically the death of Nancy Pelosi. She was speaking at the Stop the Steal rally on January 6th and said something that like Nancy Pelosi is a traitor, and what do we do with traitors? That is it is punishable by death what she is doing, blah blah blah. A couple other things that she has said. She suggested that Muslims don't belong in government, thinks Black people are held slaves to the Democratic Party, called George Soros a Jewish Democratic mega donor a Nazi, called George Soros a Jewish Democratic mega donor a Nazi, and said she would feel, quote, proud to see a Confederate monument if she were Black because it symbolized progress made in the Civil War. Yeah? Huh?
I like no sentence that any white person like says that like begins with or ends with "if I were Black" is like that's never a good sign. It's like, but you're not, so you stay in your lane. You stay white because that's what you know.
It could literally be anything, and other than, I think the only thing it'd be okay is if I were Black. Like, I think it'd be, I don't know. Nothing could actually end that sentence. No,
if I were, you're not Black. So
I'm like, yeah.
No.
Yeah, don't finish that sentence. No. And also, one last thing, she thinks that 9/11 and the Parkland shooting were false flags and that Obama was a Muslim, which is always a weird one to me because I'm always like, so? And if he was? He wasn't, but if he was, not a big deal. Just for an extra, the last thing I'll say, and then I want to get into play a little snippet of some of her.
Ooh, we have a visual aid.
Gems. We have some visual aids.
I love that.
But the best thing that she claimed this week was that, or that was uncovered this week that she had posted to Facebook earlier, was she said that a devastating wildfire that ravaged California was started by a laser beamed from space and controlled by a prominent Jewish banking family, the Rothschilds.
We literally got your like crazy aunt who was like a mega conspiracist, like in the government, like in charge of like laws. Like that's who she is. It's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
A laser. I guarantee this woman is what? She's totally like anti-global warming. Like she's anti-science, right? She's got to be anti-science enough to not believe in global warming, but like pro-science enough to like believe in lasers.
Yeah, like she was in like 5th grade science class when they put, like vinegar and baking soda together, and she's like, that's the devil's work. Like that was her vibe. She's like, that's impossible. She said a few
people voted for her. Like, because she's like in the House of Representatives. So it's like conceivably like, gerrymandering. It could essentially not be a ton of people.
At least 20,000. I'm going to say at least 20.
Jesus.
Let's play just a little clip of some of the gems and the hits from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Or Marjorie, yeah.
The deep state has been in place for many, many years. Q is a patriot. He is someone that is very much loves his country. Is that why the country music festival was targeted? Because those would be the people, would be the ones that we would relate to. So she becomes senator in New York City, and yes, I could dive into Kennedy getting killed in the plane crash, because isn't it interesting that he had announced he was going to run? Are they trying to terrorize our mindset and change our minds on the Second Amendment? Yes, I do believe he is a Muslim. The information that Q has revealed is mostly in the form of questions leading you to fill in the blanks. So that's another one of those Clinton murders, right? So he's like telling you in advance, kind of in the form of asking a bunch of questions. President Trump is the first president, yes, the first president in a very long time that is not deep state controlled.
Not American deep state controlled. She might be right about that, but Russian deep state controlled, probably. Where is the P tape? I still want it. This, like, it's so funny because I just feel like it's like why
Glenn Beck like in a wig. Like, what is this? Just it's like red string Charlie Day nonsense. It's like, I can't believe that she's a real person in our government.
In our government, and who has been like setting off, along with Lauren Boebert, like setting off the metal detectors and not allowing them to search her bag. Like, what the fuck, dude?
I
Are
mean,
you
then
just
she shouldn't be
hacking?
allowed in the bill. I guess it's like, this is the
Exactly.
thing I don't understand is like, and I guess like this just like kept happening during Trump's presidency, but it's like, if there are rules and you break them, like you don't get to like participate. Like otherwise, what's the point of having them, right? You're
Yes.
setting off a fucking alarm. You're not getting in that building unless we're searching your purse. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it just, that's what I think is so confusing about like her presence is like, is there a real rule that she is violating? And if so, then let's take the appropriate action. Like, and get her the fuck out.
Well, that's what I feel like actually that's a broader statement on this political moment that we're in. And let me just say briefly, like, I think that a lot of folks have said, you know, like, well, Marjorie Taylor Greene is the future of the Republican Party, and this is it. This is what it is. And, you know, 75 million people voted for Trump, and that's what they want. And I'm like, whoa. Let's just like slow it down a little bit, because if we can just say, I feel like we're executives in like, you know, talking about reality television, and you're like, well, you know, the floor is lava is what people want. And that's not a bad one. Being like the Swan, where people cut up their faces and, you know,
we
completely.
should bring back the Swan, though.
I kind of like the Swan. I'm picking bad examples. The point is this. The point is, just because people want it doesn't mean it's actually okay or good for them. Actually, I don't believe in that. I don't believe we should just sort of like, well, gotta give the people what they want. And if this cute conspiracy theorist, you know, nut job who thinks the Clintons murder people is going to be a leader, and who doesn't believe that the election actually gave, you know, that Biden actually won the election, then, you know, let's draw a line somewhere. And so I feel like it's a little bit like, I don't want to get into the inevitability of how nuts these folks are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess I just don't understand how the Republican Party can be like at the same time be like, well, this is the future, but also this isn't who we are. And it's like, pick one, because both can't be true at the same time. Like, this has been the Republican Party as I know it, right? Since like Obama, all the Tea Parties, that's opened the door for this, you know, the Tea Parties, the birthers, all of that is like when everyone got so enraged at losing any modicum of like white privilege that they were like, I have to do something about it. I have to stand up for my values, which are whites first, blacks and Muslims and everyone else away.
They'll you know, whatever, essential workers. This is
like, I guess like that's the thing that it's like, I don't understand how people in the Republican Party can stand by and be colleagues and cohorts with someone like that and not have any decency to be like, this is actually really bad. Like, this isn't just even bad. This is just like bad for humanity.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You
No,
know?
I mean, that's funny. I've long given up on Republicans having any kind of bad for humanity moment, but definitely like this is bad for the party. You know, this is a terrible representation.
Bad look. It's not a cute look. It's definitely not a cute look. It's not. I mean, oh my god,
it is not a cute look. Q is not a cute look.
Q
okay,
is not a cute
everyone
look.
tell their Karens Q is not cute. Also, can we just talk about how maybe CrossFit had something to do with her mind going nuts? Don't cancel me, CrossFit
gym.
Dude, she's really into CrossFit, guys. Someone tell me whether CrossFit is a gateway
She's probably
drug
into CrossFit. She's probably into keto. She's into Q. Oh, you know what? She probably gets she probably has like acrylics, like French tip acrylics. I feel like that's her vibe too. Again, not a great look.
I think I know what that. Yes, I'm like, I know what that means. That means it's wine o'clock somewhere. But I want to bring in our guests, but before that, I'm going to read some comments and chats. Thank you guys so much for still being here. Everybody in Twitch, what is up? And thank you so much for your comments and your super chats. Casey says Danielle's glasses rock. Hell yeah, agreed.
There's Zilu. I don't have a code, but you can buy them online.
What's the name?
Zilu or whatever.
Zilu. Okay.
You know what I'm talking about. They're going to start popping up ads all over your browser. I said it. I'll say it at Zilu.
You've said it enough that everyone's going to get
now
those
everyone's going to get the ads.
Perfect. Surf Psych on YouTube. I confuse IUDs with IEDs. I guess that could be dangerous. Agreed. I do too. An IED up there is basically whenever I see Baby Yoda and I'm like, oh my God.
Well, how else are you going to know if your pussy's bomb, you know?
So good. Scully, thank you so much for the super chat. Once 50% of the population is vaccinated, then it'll be hard to get people to come in for it. The first 50% want it badly, and the second 50% is stupid, crazy, or both, potentially. On Gamestonks, Aaron Gets Good on Twitch says the reaction from Wall Street has been epic. You can't mess with the stock market. That's our thing. Absolutely, dude. And then Rigel Cummins on YouTube says Secret Jewish Space Lasers is my Kiss cover band. Love it. Secret Jewish Space Lasers. That's not a Kiss song.
You got fun commenters.
You've
got great viewers. I love it. Everyone's having fun here.
We've got the best viewers. Everyone's having fun here. And hey, you can have even more bonus fun if you become a patron. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. $1, $5, $20, $10 will get you a shout out on the show. And also tip the show, TBR-Live, TBR Live on Cash App, TBR-Live on Venmo. And let's get into this. The sitch. We're talking about Medicare for All and the future of this fight in a time we need it most. And joining us for the sitch is an organizer and an advocate who has developed policy for single-payer Medicare for All nationally and in California for 29 years. He's the founding fellow of the Medicare of the Sanders Institute. Last year, he was the healthcare constituency director for Bernie 2020, and he currently works with the National Union of Healthcare Workers. Please welcome Michael Lighty.
Thank you, Francesca, and thank you, Danielle. Boy, it was a laugh-a-thon, I got to tell you. I can't believe I have to follow you too.
Laugh-a-thon.
What did I do to earn that? Yes, let's get serious now.
Well, yeah. We were just talking about IUDs. I was like, IEDs. And every woman's right to have an IED in you know where. And suddenly, like, I'm getting all like flustered. But Michael, You've been working on this issue for so long, and I think that there has been a lot of internet chatter about Medicare for All and how to win it. It's something that's close to my heart as someone who did a whole special, an hour-long special on healthcare in the United States for MSNBC, but I also pay through the nose every month for marketplace, bullshit, premiums coming, whatever. Coming at me real quick. And I haven't been to the doctor all last year. We're in a pandemic. I pretty much don't know why I have healthcare other than maybe this will serve me if I do get sick. It's just an emergency like it is for everyone. It's a luxury item somehow in the year 2021 in the United States still. But yeah, where are you in this moment of the pandemic and everything, and you as someone who's worked with nurses unions and have worked with all these healthcare workers, and their labor is being, I think, underappreciated. The country has been letting them down by not actually keeping its people safe and throwing them onto the backs of these healthcare workers. But how do you feel about this moment? How do you think this moment would be different if we had Medicare for All? A lot of people have said it wouldn't be. Where are you at on that?
We would have saved hundreds of thousands of lives. There is literally no way you could design a healthcare system that would be worse to handle a pandemic than the for-profit industry that we have now. Because why don't healthcare workers have protective personal equipment? Because these corporations, these hospital corporations, don't have oodles of supplies on hand. They just in time their supply chains, so they have only as much as they think they're going to need. Well, guess what? They didn't know how much they were going to need, and they didn't have it. The public health spending has gone down nearly 50% over the last 10 years. A robust public health system is at the heart of Medicare for All. There would not be 7.5 million people who lost their health insurance. There would not be workers of color who have to go to essential jobs that would have huge health inequities for years because their chronic conditions were not adequately treated.
Yeah.
We would not have a system rooted in white supremacy and systemic racism that characterizes our healthcare system, because we would have taken the path that Medicare started when it desegregated Southern hospitals and continued to address those systemic issues that cause these health inequities. So it's just hard to imagine how it wouldn't be different. We wouldn't have a fraction, I don't think, of the kind of failures in testing, in quarantine, in contact tracing, in vaccinations, if we had a fully integrated, publicly financed system that didn't depend on the profits of the insurers. They made $15 billion in 2020 during the pandemic. And 400,000 Americans, not to mention hundreds of thousands of people around the world, have died.
Yeah.
So this is a movement to save lives, and we would have saved them had we had Medicare for All.
I mean, it makes sense why they're saving money, right? Because people are not actually going to the doctor that much. I just said I wasn't going to the doctor. They're saving even more money, so they're making hand over fist money. But it is a moment, and it's interesting because I feel like I think a lot of times when there's a crisis, you're told by the powers that be that basically you have to scale back any of your demands, and you have to ask for less. And this is not the time, and there is no money. And look at all the people struggling. And I think that this country is very ready for the opposite response, which is this crisis has exposed just how actually hung out to dry working people and all people have been by our government, and the lack of any kind of healthcare system and a plan. But also, look, they're going to keep making so much money as we go forward, because the conditions that are going to be coming out, the health conditions and lasting health conditions that come out of COVID, are only going to spell more profit for them. And so we know this is an issue. We know, like, I'm tired of making the moral argument. Like, I'm tired of making the financial argument. That's like done, I mean, at least in these spaces, right? When we're on the left, we're progressives, we know what we stand for. The question is, how do we get the political will? And I know you were part of a national conference, a strategic conference, a strategy conference to talk about Medicare for All and the future of it on a national level, and that you actually wrote a strategy paper around this. So this is big, but broad strokes on how do we get that political will moving forward?
Well, what we need to change the conversation from whether to do Medicare for All to how. Mm-hmm. And so one way to do that, obviously, is to show real support in Congress for the Medicare for All legislation. So one of the things coming out of the strategy conference was an effort to get as many co-sponsors or more on that bill that we had last session when it's introduced in the next few weeks. And that will probably happen after COVID. Secondly, there's a project called Patients Over Profits, Patients Over Profits, that National Nurses United has done, that exposes the contributions that the healthcare industry has made to these politicos. All these elected officials who are whoring for the health insurance industry are taking millions of dollars from the largest political contributor to Congress, which is the healthcare industry, including the pharmaceutical corporations and these for-profit hospital corporations, as well as the insurance companies, right?
Yeah.
So they're all feeding at the public trough. We expose that. Secondly, we can change from whether to how if we pursue single payer at the state level, like in New York, like you discussed, and like in California. So if the governor puts in a waiver request, you've got a pro-single payer guy, pro-Medicare for All guy running Health and Human Services, probably, Javier Becerra. Right. You've got a CMS administrator who's sympathetic. You've got a governor who ran on the issue. So that sets it up. Once he asks the Biden administration, hey, let us do this, then you figure out how we're going to do it. and we engage the stakeholders. Well, if we're able to successfully establish a model here in California, that proves, given that its size particularly, that we can do it nationally. So there are different paths, but that's what I think. That's what I argue strategically, is to develop the political will. We have to expose the healthcare industry like it was tobacco, make it as toxic as tobacco.
Right.
The same. And then we do have to be concrete about how workers are going to be better off, how we're all going to save money, how we're going to save lives. We need to talk about that, right? But ultimately, this is a problem among Democrats, because there are 60 Democrats when you need 41 votes in the California Assembly, right?
I want to get into that question. Oh my God. But I do want to just say sort of broadly, who's involved in this effort? Like, who was there at the meeting? I'm assuming on Zoom, but what kind of organizations and what does the coalition look like?
Well, for the first time, and I do mean this, and it's a failure up until now, but for the first time, we're actually building a more multiracial coalition. It's starting to happen for the first time, time, and addressing these profound health inequities, addressing, when Black folks and others hear all, they often don't believe it, that it does, hey, it's all, yeah, right, all, all you white people. Yeah, I've heard that from activists many times, and we're confronting it really for the first time in our movement and addressing these issues directly. I think it's significant that the president of Physicians for a National Health Program, a leading advocacy organization, is a Black woman doctor who is extraordinary, Dr. Susan Rogers. We did a panel this summer with Drs. Linda Murray, former head of the Cook County health system, and Dr. Mary Bassett, former head of the public health system in New York, with Dr. Rogers. That was seminal in terms of changing, I think, the discourse and the character of how we're going to organize on this issue. The traditional organizations are there: Healthcare Now, Labor Campaign for Single Payer. Most people don't realize, but unions representing a majority of workers in America support Medicare for All.
Yeah.
At the leadership level, at the international level, they're also often, beholden to Democratic Party politics. You talk to any labor person who negotiates contracts, and they say, get it off the bargaining table. We need Medicare for all.
That's a really interesting point. I mean, one thing that I was really disheartened by, and I'm just going to name it, and I want to get into strategy, but that was the DNC voting, down a Medicare for All platform, which, look, it was in a moment of Bernie or Biden, and a lot of people decided to play it safe. And of course, Biden ran in opposition to Bernie, basically on a no, we can fix and make the ACA better. So I get politically why it didn't happen, and why maybe some leaders of like reproductive rights organizations and major unions did not vote for it. But I was incredibly disheartened. Do you think the tune is changing now with the pandemic and some of these leaders in those organizations? Are you trying to expand to get some of these major nonprofits on board? Yeah.
I think what we have to do is convert organizations that support single payer or Medicare for All into actively putting it in the top 3 of their priorities.
Right.
And that's the challenge, frankly.
Yeah.
Now, the pandemic, honestly, I felt like the pandemic would kind of stimulate a sense of solidarity, and that we're all in this together, and bring to the fore, caring and kindness, which really need to be at the heart of the healthcare system. Instead, it's been, subject to the partisan divide, and hasn't really generated that solidarity. But still, things like the Healthcare Emergency Guarantee Act, which would cover everybody's copays, would put everyone who's lost insurance into Medicare,
yes,
would do for the insured and the uninsured, right? That still could be live. We could get that through reconciliation. We could support Senator Sanders' effort on that. And I think unions, particularly in the hospitality and service industries, this is it. Restaurant workers, right? 60% of restaurant workers at least have lost their jobs. They don't have any healthcare options. Absolutely. The bill that's being discussed in Congress doesn't provide it, really. But this would, healthcare, emergency.
And I think, Danielle, I've been thinking, like, man, we need comedians for a single payer, we do. We need entertainers for single payer or whatever, if you're not, if you're not in the union, if you're not in the guild, you need healthcare. And even if you are, you have to earn a certain amount in order to access the healthcare within that union. So look, it's beneficial to all of us.
My dad constantly talks about how Medicare is the best health insurance he's ever had because he's old. He loves it.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
But
I'll make you a Democrat real quick too. Like I've talked to Republicans who are like, the best thing that ever happened to us was turning 65. Then when you're like, you realize that Republicans have constantly put Medicare on the chopping block. They're like, oh no, I didn't know that. And I hate that.
Well, like I'm disabled. I use a wheelchair. I'm a bilateral balloon of the knee amputee. And I feel like so much of what's like been happening in the pandemic is just everyone talks about the death toll, but no one talks about everyone who's going to be living with like comorbidities and the disability that's going to exist after all of this is over, and how instrumental single payer healthcare would be in just helping disabled people live like and truly actively like be part of society, because the way the system already exists for disabled people is, I mean, that's why you have GoFundMe's. It does not a week goes by where I don't see a GoFundMe for people who need medical help and really
that's pretty much what it's for. It's like the majority of the accounts there,
because we don't have that safety net, and it's just,
and the other,
I'm like, it's such a thing where it like, it's not a laughing matter, and it's so serious, and I don't think that there's just a lot of people that I think before COVID kind of went through life and never really were there. Hospitals for an emergency. Maybe they were in a hospital for like a day or two, or they broke their arm. But like I've been hospitalized for months at a time. And when people who are chronically ill or sick or disabled, where they understand what it is to really need medical attention like that, and then like what it can do to you financially, it's just, it hits in such a different way. It isn't a moral failing of being like, I guess it's this thing. It's like, well, they're a fast food employee or they're a bus boy. And it's like, that's not a moral failing. That's an honest job and it's an honest living. And they deserve, health insurance and equal access to that.
It's an incredible, I mean, it's funny because the pandemic and the way we approach it, it's not funny, but the way we approach the pandemic is like, you don't really think about it until you or someone dies, or someone dies, or someone gets really incredibly ill. And if you zoom out, that's the way we've been treating healthcare in this country as well. It's pretty much, well, it's not my problem. I don't see it until you're in an accident, until you get incredibly ill. So anyway, Michael, but you were going to say.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say to Danielle's point and to your point there, that's why we have to lift up the experiences of folks with disabilities. That's why we have to lift up the fact that anyone can be subject to this healthcare industry, and that's what COVID proves. Medicare for All is a huge, huge life-saving quality of life improvement for people with disabilities. There's, Danielle, there's a wait list of nearly 700,000 people who are eligible for services under existing law that simply aren't funded. There's a whole set of services that they're not even eligible for. We fix all that. We include long-term care. We include these support services, transportation that are not just strictly medical. So I think we need to lift that up. Basically, disabled people saved the ACA. Let's be clear.
Yes, they did. They absolutely did.
They did. And we need that. You talk about political will, Francesca. That's what we need. We need to really embrace the reality, because I have diabetes. I have an autoimmune disease. The vaccine isn't probably even going to help me that much. So, what are we looking at here, right? Yeah. And that's what we got to get people to focus on, I think, is the reality that everyone faces.
Yep.
And some of us are just on the front lines, like yourself, Danielle, right? But all of us are in the same line.
And so, you mentioned waivers, and we've talked about waivers with Representative Gustavo Rivera in the State Senate of New York, and talking about, you, in order to go your own way as a state, you have to submit a waiver under the ACA to the federal government that allows you to sort of make changes. And this is red states have asked Donald Trump for waivers to not expand Medicare or Medicaid, or expand Medicaid only a little bit, which is awful, or add work requirements to the receiving of Medicaid, right? Which is evil in its own way, especially for people with disabilities. But California, we got all the money. We got this supermajority, 60 Democrats in the state assembly. Maybe we can be the ones to do this. What do you think it takes here in order to push that?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I do think it takes the governor putting forward this waiver request, because that really changes the equation, I think. And the reality is that Democrats in California support him, I think, about 80%. You got to ask yourself, let's see, what political party in the world would not do something that 70 or 80% of its members want? That would be the Democratic Party. Is there another one? So it takes coalescing that political support, because we have popular support. We've won the policy argument. I'm not going to go into it here. So that's what's left is moving the electeds. What moves the electeds? Well, the industry is the biggest contributor. The healthcare industry is the biggest contributor to political campaigns. They are formidable. They spent, $161 million to defeat the drug prescription price limitation initiative. What will they spend to preserve their profits? That's the huge problem. You've got the California Medical Association opposed to Medicare for All. A bunch of the governor's staff in California are from the California Medical Association. They were the ones who hosted the dinner at the French Laundry, for folks following that.
That is right. That is
That's
right.
The CMA.
I knew that.
That's the Medical Association. So here we are, right? These hospitals have convinced the legislators that they're just community nonprofits out for the good of the people, when they're really just rapacious property owners ripping off the communities and denying people healthcare and closing hospitals in communities of color. So it's quite an array, and that's why people power is the only thing that beats organized money, right? Organized people. That's what we got to do. We got to build the grassroots movement. We got to get labor. We got to move labor. We got to convince workers that, it is better. We're not taking it away. We're improving it. Your union's interests will be covered, and the vast majority of 95% of people will pay less and get more. And we'll have what we don't have now. We'll have a caring, compassionate healthcare system rooted in kindness. And we have to talk about those things. And ultimately, as I said, we have to make the industry as toxic as tobacco, and we have to make the demand to save lives and desire for peace of mind as righteous as the movements that have changed this country in the past. And we're not going to do this. This notion that we're going to do this by itself. Oh, we're going to have a $725 minimum wage, but we're going to have Medicare for all. We're going to have cops killing Black people, and we're going to have, but we're going to have Medicare for all. No, those things don't coalesce together. They can't have the opposites. You've got to coalesce, folks, so that we're all making the justice demands collectively. That the demand for Medicare for all is the health justice wing of the broader social justice movement that is addressing the triple crises of the pandemic, of systemic racism and state-sanctioned violence, and the crisis of economic inequality. It's this broad social movement that's going to transform our healthcare system as part of the transformation. And so I think
absolutely. I mean, and just, we talked about the vaccine earlier, and I'm thinking about it now. We know that, like, in LA, Latinos are affected, it's like 1,000 times, like 1,000% more. I mean, it's insane, the number of Latinos in this state, in this county, who have suffered and who have died disproportionately, right? This is the community who should be receiving the vaccine first, period. And we know that's not happening. It's not happening in New York, where Black and Latino New Yorkers are, like, disproportionately not being vaccinated compared to what they represent of the population, right? But it's like, and they're more likely to also be essential workers. So it's just like, and that I think might be an in this. This is me just spitballing, but an in with Biden, who is not really able to think structurally or systemically, or is scared of that, but is being forced to think about things through an equity and a justice and a racial justice angle, which is great. And I think him having a more diverse administration is really critical and important. Having Becerra in there is really good at the Department of Health and Human Services. But man, it's a long fight. I guess I'm just wondering, current Democrats in state Senate in California, because I mean, God, I think about if there were 60 Republicans and only 19 Democrats, how fucked this state would be. I mean, what they would do with a super majority, like it would be, I mean, it'd be even worse than it is now, right? If you're not in California, we're not liberal, okay? Like a fourth of our population lives outdoors. So, it's bad. But what do you make of the current crop? Are they movable, or are we primarying them? What are your thoughts?
I think they're movable. I think the governor's leadership matters. The Senate, we got through SB 562 in 2018, which was a Medicare for All type single payer bill for California. We got that through the state Senate. Tony Atkins, the leader of the Senate, is very supportive, very hardcore in the issue. So the Assembly is the problem, I think, because you've got, look at the Chamber of Commerce puts out the list of job killer bills every year. There are 50 bills on the list. It's very rare that even 45 of those survive. I mean, it's really like one or two get through. And so the fact is that corporate California dictates economic policy in the state. And the only time we've overcome it is when we put tax, the rich initiatives on the ballot. You're right. I think this is both. I think it's moral. I think it's fundamental that we address the health inequities, but it's also completely practical. Because if the organizations devoted to social justice and overcoming racial injustice were to make Medicare for All their healthcare plank, right? Like Frontline, Rising Majority, Mahente, Movement for Black Lives. This is what I think can move the Biden administration. You've got the Newsom administration putting forward a health equity program, but you can't have health equity. You can't have healthcare as a human right if it's conditioned on my ability to pay. If it's conditioned on my race, if it's conditioned on my gender identity. This is not healthcare as a human right. This is healthcare by what the corporations decide I get.
Yes. And the other thing and I think everyone needs to understand this, the other thing that happens when we means test or, we only make certain programs accessible to people, just like Medicaid, which disproportionately does help Black and brown Americans, right? And poor folks, disabled people as well, is that it will always be on the chopping block because rich people will always, and politicians will always want to fucking undercut it because they don't know anybody on it. Well, because they're not benefiting from it. So once you this is the Pete Buttigieg bullshit of like, well, what about rich people don't need healthcare? That's right. But they should pay into this system and they should defend it. They should, because once we're all collectively in it together, then they have a vested interest in making sure that it's good. So done.
10% of high-income people are having trouble paying for healthcare. Now that's not the 90%
prices are insane.
Low-income people, but yeah. So this is actually a cross-class issue. It's got to be rooted in the working class, and you're right, the essential workers in particular. But it is a cross-class issue, and the notion that people who are upper middle class have peace of mind when it comes to healthcare, they don't. None of us have peace of mind ultimately, unless you're ultra rich.
Yeah. Absolutely. Anything else, Danielle? Yes.
I did an outpatient treatment program this summer, and it was really shocking to me when I was calling around to find out like how many days the program would be, because every response was, well, it depends on what your insurance will pay. And it's like, but like, I need serious help. And I'm lucky that I could at least afford like my copay and my monthly, payment and all of that by fucking, supplemental insurance. But it's like, wait, so my healthcare provider, my like mental health care provider has to basically defend that I need mental health treatment, like in the middle of a fucking pandemic.
Jeez.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just such a sick, broken system. And even when I exited that, it's like, why isn't there a way to just be able to get this kind of help if you need this kind of help?
Yeah. And so many of, I mean, it's not the same, but personally, I go to like an osteopath, right? And like, they're all out of network. I mean, anyone who's ever helped me has been out of network. I have like horrible repetitive strain injury in my back and arms and hands, et cetera. And, the et cetera part of the hands. And like, but nobody, a lot of the best providers don't take insurance because they don't want to deal with the fucking bureaucracy, And if they're good providers, they're like, well, I don't have to. So, not gonna.
But remember, the problem you're having, Danielle, people don't have on Medicare now. There are problems with Medicare, but doctors get what they order. And nurses have much greater ability to educate and spend time with those patients. So it is really a doctor, nurse, provider run system. And that's where all this crap about government run healthcare is so hard to take, because now insurance companies run healthcare. Come on.
Yeah, that's
what
healthcare feels like.
Right? Doctors and nurses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I'm going to read a couple comments. Thank you so much for being here, Michael. Your work is awesome, and I just want to make sure that everybody knows where to follow you on social media. And also we didn't talk about, but Healthy California, Healthy CA is the initiative for single payer in California, and you guys are just getting started. I mean, I know it's been in the works for a while, but you're really rolling out a campaign. And I wanted to ask how people, everyday people, individuals, organizations, how can people get involved?
We can join Healthy California by going to healthyca.org. healthyca.org. Individuals and organizations can join. We have a petition to the governor, petition.healthcare.org, that goes and urges him to put a waiver request into the federal government. We're initiating working with allies in the California Nurses Association and others to move the legislature to support this process as well, to get individual legislators, because obviously it has died in the assembly last time. So we got to overcome that this time. And we think that pressure on the governor, pressure on the legislature creates the conditions for getting the waiver and moving forward. And I think we're really in a process where we're going to have to assemble a very broad coalition that can inoculate folks. And Healthy California is definitely committed to that. And we're building labor support. Unions are suffering during the pandemic, obviously, yes. So we're seeing more response to that. And we're going to dig deep into the community-based organizations that are on the front lines of COVID and really facing these existential threats in communities of color. And we're going to have to bring those folks into the coalition in a very substantial way. And we are.
I'm so excited. I definitely want to get involved, and I'm not joking about starting some sort of comedians for single payer.
I want to be all for that.
I want to sign up. Also, we got to tweet. So we got to also tweet at, Gavin Newsom, right?
Exactly.
That's it. We got to just
tweet that fool. Tell him.
Right, he's put an insurance company. He's put an insurance company in charge of the vaccine program.
No.
A health insurance company. Yeah.
Expose Gavin Newsom.
Blue Shield. So
I can't. The California's whole response to this. I just found out that the test I've been relying on for months, curative, is not actually reliable, and LA County was rolling that out for everybody. So sorry, Mom. Almost killed you. I'm fucking mad.
Holmes of COVID testing. I'm
telling you, this is nothing but Elizabeth Holmes all over the place.
The guy who's in charge of curative, the 25-year-old, also dropped out of Stanford. They love it.
Are you serious? Are you serious?
Yes.
Fucking
and what
hell.
School
you can't be a tech medical genius if you don't drop out of Stanford. No one's gonna
look. He got in. People just think once you get in, that's it. Yeah. I grew up not far from Stanford. Fuck all those people. I'm just kidding. Some are good. Couple comments. Ty Off says worked since I was 14 to 61 and never ever had benefits whatsoever. Wow. Not okay. Stephen Turner, thank you for the super chat, and says, Michael, it's worse than big tobacco. They never pretended that they were there for the people. As an ED doctor, we see the worst possible outcomes from these levels of disinformation.
They're just not politically toxic like tobacco. That's what we got to change. Yeah.
Right. We have to actually change the discussion around it. Bonds, thank you for the super chat. I'm disabled right now and can't start the Humira I need because it's a $1,500 copay. Bullshit. Meanwhile, the ads that they place, the money that they're spending, get on Humira. Yeah. For how much? You know, and this is something where I think even Republicans, the ones I've spoken to about big pharma, they know their constituents are like, this is insane. In fact, and this is the last story I'll tell, but really quickly, I was in Utah and speaking with a state legislator there, and they have a program which sends their state employees to Mexico in a plane, limousine picks them up, 5-star hotel, so that they can go buy their meds, and it's cheaper than buying them in the United States. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So, God, Michael, please come back, but will you just for right now stay for our last segment?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Can't resist.
Wonderful.
Having too much fun. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We have our very new segment. Thanks to Rebecca Rufer, the producer. This is What's Good. What's good?
Oh, we got Cardi. That's cute, Gif. I love that.
Love Cardi. Stop holding maskless parties. Danielle, let's start with you. What's good?
What's good? All the information that Michael just shared. I love that. No, honestly, like I feel so informed and I feel like empowered to take action. And like now I know what I can do and where I can go, all of those websites, knowing that Gavin Newsom truly has influence and that we have a super majority that can like actually make this a reality. That's good. That's good. This podcast, getting all of this out, that's good.
Also your earrings and eyewear. Very good.
I know. I'm like, what if I just dress like Tessa Thompson in Sorry to Bother You? That was my little podcast.
I love
it. Yeah. Okay. Michael, what's good beyond this fight?
What I really find good in this moment is the reaction to the Biden-Harris election is so different from the reaction to the Obama election in the sense that the left just went away. Oh, he'll take care of it. And this time the left is like, no, man, you're going to do this. And that's not okay. That's okay. It's not perfect. It's not as strong as we want, but it's pretty strong and it's pretty out there. And I just don't think they're going to get away with it this time.
Absolutely. They're like, no, I'm going to watch as you sign. Right. No, you're going to sign that. You got to take your hand and sign it. Yeah, I love that. They're not going to turn their back. None of us want to turn our backs on Biden.
Closing down the fire, but got to make sure we rebuild the house right, you know? Like, yeah.
Exactly.
What's good for me?
That purple light is really cute. That's good. And your lipstick. I really love your lipstick. That's
the lipstick for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm not good, you guys. I'm not good.
Here, I'll give you a different what's good. I was trending on Reddit yesterday. I was on the front page.
I saw that.
The Price is Right. I won a treadmill on The Price is Right, and I use a wheelchair and don't have feet. So the internet was like, LOL. And it was really fun. And every now and then it like pops back up. And so yesterday it was on Reddit, and that was a fun thing.
Oh my gosh, when this all opens up and everyone, if you get a chance to see Danielle, you have to see her live. She's absolutely hilarious, of course. What's good for me? Okay, here's what's good. I haven't found a good veggie burrito in Los Angeles. If you've got tips, let me know. But the breakfast burrito near my house is very good. They put actual hash browns in it, like not potato, but hash browns. It's good. It's one of those like eat half of it and then like slowly snack for the rest of the day on the latter half.
Where do you go? Shout them out. Cause we're like kind of neighbors.
You know, I have too many stalkers on the internet for that, Danielle. But,
I will text you for that info. I hear that. No.
Michael Lighty, Danielle Perez, thank you both so much for being here. Everybody follow their work. Michael, we can follow you on Twitter, mlighty60, and Danielle Perez, follow at Diva Deluxe, DIVADELUX, and listen to the podcast. Wow, rude. With Madison Shepard. So funny. Thank you guys both. Be very, very well. Take good care.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for every little thing you all do in the chat. You know, I see you talking back and forth. I see you. Don't think I don't see you. Some comments. What's good? I'm so glad you guys weighed in. Having a female Veep is good. Dogs are good. Expensive scotch is good. Broad City is good. People power is good. I love this. I love you all. I was also going to say Daniel Levy in Schitt's Creek is very good, and his sweaters are even better, and I kind of just love him. And I wish that he was pansexual in real life. Maybe he is. Anyway, thank you so much for sticking around in the Bitchuation room, you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe and, 5 stars and all that crap. And, become a patron or whatever. It's pretty sexy. Also, you can tip the show. And thank you to our producer, Rebecca Rufer, for Dorsey Shaw and Kelly Carey on the other side of the YouTube, making sure this content keeps on pumping out. And I felt like we were on such a good note, but just remember, these people are out there.
The picture of Ruth Bader Gingrich walking through the airport. This woman has been drawn over for how many years? And all of a sudden she's walking straight upright like it's a whole new person.
Almost like a body double like Hillary Clinton. Ruth? Yeah, like the body double for Hillary Clinton. So
I do not believe that was Ruth. No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Worms in the brain, y'all. That was Marjorie Taylor Greene with some unknown right-wing caller who's got a holla at me number. And I think we might have to holla. All right, you guys. Fuck the patriarchy, fight the power, and remember, don't just bitch about it. Be about it. Bye.